Now, any scientific guidance has been inherently politically diluted and politically muzzled, all at the whim of RFK Jr. and Trump, because it's not saving lives that matters. It's whatever their political ideology that matters. And this is actually the buildup of many, many other things. As mentioned earlier, the cutting of $500 million worth of vaccine research, gutting of the NIH by 40%, freezing of prevention committees, replacing all the vaccine committees with specifically their own anti-vaxxer toadies or vaccine skeptic toadies, and somehow trying to force all these unscientific things. And basically, RFK Jr. was making these edicts via tweet and his personal press release without going through the CDC and forcing the CDC to rubber stamp everything he says. And as you know, RFK Jr. was notoriously, before health secretary, the leader of the largest anti-vax nonprofit there ever was. So it's really dark days right now.
Yeah, Eric, and also think back, there was a shooting in Atlanta not terribly long ago, and at the time, and it was aimed at the CDC. And at the time, CDC officials came out, basically begged RFK Jr., back off, quit saying these kind of things that are just inflammatory. And right now, she's being blunt, just blasting RFK Jr., saying that she is not going to rubber stamp the things that he says, that they're not backed in science.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these resignations, the shooting itself didn't cause the resignations. The shooting was more of a symptom of his conspiracy spreading on disinformation, of course. And by the way, it's not just her. It's four of her top other leaders, including the chief medical officer, as well as the director of immunization. So there's many things, like there's an upcoming vaccine committee. And I think even though the FDA approved the new COVID vaccine, the new anti-vax vaccine committee with brand new appointed members that are vaccine skeptic of RFK's choosing are not going to basically allow as much vaccine availability and eligibility for people. And that's really going to endanger a lot of people. And right now, this is the war of between science and public health and political ideology and, RFK Jr. narcissism. And at this point, the scientists have had it. They're not going to go along with any rubber stamping anymore. And I think that people have to really search where they should go for good medical advice. And it's really sad to say, but it might not be CDC anymore.
Yeah, and to pick up on that point, I saw a poll out yesterday that said something like 97% of Republicans support the Trump administration, 98% of Democrats absolutely do not. The concern is the Trump administration is saying that Monarez, I can't get her name, and I apologize, is being fired for refusing to support Trump's goal of making America healthy again. So you're going to have this huge split, who's right and who isn't, and science by one side is being simply ignored.
Yeah, well, the one good thing about science, it doesn't care about your opinions. Science is a process to get at the truth and evidence and whatever the data shows.
In a perfect world, but if you have the leader of the CD, if you have the HHS chief coming out saying, you don't need this.
This is very dark. And I think in many ways, either Trump needs to replace RFK Jr. long ago, or he's going to keep plowing ahead. And what can I say? The vaccinated will inherit the earth. That's a very dark scenario. But I think many ways, the general public needs to realize that basically the anti-science, anti-vaxxers have infiltrated the inside. And now you need to actually listen to physician groups, American Academy of Pediatrics, other Canadian and European medical associations of what we should do for our children's, because at least they are much more evidence-based and scientific. I think that's the dark side, because CDC used to be the shining city on the hill where everyone looked up to for guidance worldwide for public health things. Now it's being shunned, and I think we have very dark times ahead.
Okay, and also undermining vaccines. It's going to be very difficult for people to get COVID vaccinations moving forward. What does this do to the global reputation of the United States when it comes to health treatment?
Well, the global reputation of the United States, other than the research that we pump out, but which previously, we used to be the top funder of research in the world, but now we've basically cut NIH research by 40% and blocked many researchers from even studying, entering the country. U.S. is on a downward spiral in many ways. Vaccines, we'll see what comes from the vaccine committee, but basically, even Republican leaders have said, basically, now with the CDC director firing, all the CDC vaccine committees now lack legitimacy, and this should not go forward. But I think this lacking of legitimacy is generally RFK Jr. and Trump administration's theme on anything public health and science. They want to destroy it.